Welcome to the show. My name is Charlton with Big C. This is Charlton and Big C Sports. Coming to you worldwide on the Big C Sports Network, on the #1 network in the United States of America. And Big C Sports has been voted the #1 sports show in the universe, according to Big C. And them good old boys down south, I want to say bienvenidos to all of our listeners in Latin America, also across the pond in London, England, as well as Paris, France. We love you in Canada and Africa, the Big C tribe, but there's no one we love more than the good old boys down south, in the land of the free and the home of the brave and the beautiful. May the 12th, 2021. Rondo Deportes, bonjour, Big C. How's it going for you good old boys down south?
Charlton, just another beautiful rainy day here in the South. Everybody didn't even have to leave their house to go fishing. The worms were jumping right onto the hook, Charlton. So once again, I want to thank our frontline healthcare workers, our nurses, doctors, first responders. They are always pulling those hooks out of everybody's finger who got caught up.
If you can train worms to jump on the hook, I think you get to share that with the National Science Experiment. It's all fair in love and war. I want to say today's show is sponsored by your Northern California Cadillac dealers, home of the all-new Cadillac Escalade, the standard of the world. When you go by and test drive yours, tell them Charlton and Big C sent you, as well as a fleet of Cadillac cars never stop arriving. Also, all around the world, say Google or Alexa, play Big C Sports Podcast. You will hear from our sponsors. You will hear welcome to the show. I will introduce Big C as the Mystic, and he'll do his thing from 3,000 miles away. And I really do appreciate the way things have grown with Big C Sports. You can follow Big C Sports on Spotify. You can follow Big C Sports on Xfinity, Comcast TV, Apple TV, Roku TV, Amazon Fire TV, and a lot of smart TVs all over the universe. But you better have a smart TV. You'll be sitting there looking at a still picture. Man, I love pausing, Big C. I still want to know how you train a worm to jump onto the hook, but I'll never pause on our Veterans Crisis Hotline. They are experienced helping veterans and their loved ones get help. Big C, why should everybody care?
Well, Charlton, everybody should care. I mean, because we have the time to sit around in this country and worry about our woes, that was created by our great veterans, our men and women of the armed forces, Charlton, of the United States. But unfortunately, Charlton, many of those men and women have woes of their own that are beyond repair.
Yeah.
And many of them have turned to suicide. Over 24 a day, Charlton, have committed suicide in this country. A very horrific number that America should not be at peace with allowing this to happen.
Yeah.
We give out the National Suicide Prevention Hotline number, Charlton, but we need all Americans to be on top of their game when it comes down to protecting our great men and women and veterans of our military service. Do all that you can for a veteran. Have a conversation with a veteran. Find out what's troubling them, Charlton, because that's what leads to suicide. People don't know what's troubling someone, and these people don't have a conversation piece to lend an ear to. So this is what we need to be more concerned about in this country. As we're getting closer to the end of COVID-19, let's get closer to ending suicide in America.
Very well said. 800-273-8255. That's 800-273-8255. Or you can text 838-255. That's 838-255. If you're online, simply go to veteranscrisisline.net. That's veteranscrisisline.net. You can definitely get some help for our veterans and their loved ones. Also very happy to be affiliated with Valley, home with weekly TV on Dish TV, Direct TV, AT&T Uverse, TV 53, home of the San Francisco Giants and the Say Hey Kid, as well as the home run King Barry Bonds. And when you reach out to them, just tell them Big C sent you. Our goal is simple: recruit 10,000 real estate agents and brokers all over this great country, helping to put people back to work, just like McDonald's does it. Car dealerships do it. Sports team are doing it. Watch TV and real estate work for you. 800-772-8624. If you're looking for opportunities in real estate, go to bigcsports.pacwm.com. Most of our loans are underwritten by Rocket Mortgage, the #1 lender in the country on the wholesale side. Also, all around the world, I just want to say thank you to Xfinity, Comcast TV, and Comcast Spotlight for presenting Big C Sports to the universe. Just like God said in Genesis, let there be light. Open your cell phones and just say play Big C Sports Podcast. You will see all of our apps pop up, and I really do appreciate the way things have grown with Big C Sports. Big C, there's something that you said, and I want to make sure I heard it the right way, because a lot of people go fishing in California and they drop a lot of bait into the water just to get that fish to come up. Did you say that you are training worms to jump on the hook, Big C? Your thoughts?
Well, Charlton, you have to understand with all the moisture that we get down here in the South that the worms are looking for a dry place to land. And a lot of times that hook is dry when they come up out of the ground, Charlton, because you don't have to coax them because Mother Nature's doing it. So you give them a nice, warm, and dry landing spot.
Yeah, we call that being hoodwinked in California. It's all fair in level war. Somebody's got to eat. And speaking of eating, Big C, I want to touch on a little bit what happened. You know, the NFL, of course, is a great sport. We have basketball, football, baseball, everything's great, Big C. But the NFL, there's some NFL extension guarantees. You know, just like you guarantee that you can get a worm to jump on top of a hook, Big C. Well, there's a guarantee in the NFL. Dak Prescott, and I want to get your thoughts. Dak Prescott, he trained Jerry Jones to put that worm on the hook. He's guaranteed $126 million, Big C. Your thoughts?
Well, you know, Dak is finally getting paid down there in Dallas, Charlton, with all the work that he's done, and all the media was out crying that Dak needs to give Dallas a home team discount. He did that for the first 4 years of his NFL career, Charlton. He played for less than $4 million. I don't know how much more of a discount you're going to get from one of the top-rated quarterbacks in the NFL. But now Dak can rest comfortably on those mattress commercials that he has. Matter of fact, he can buy a house full of them now with that $157 million.
Now he can afford a house along with the mattresses off at Level War. When you look at the New York Giants, Williams, Big C, he's guaranteed $45 million, Big C. Your thoughts?
Well, Leonard Williams, I mean, you know, he had the most productive year of his career after he changed locker rooms in New York. Once he left the Jets, he registered double-digit sacks, Charlton. Now he has an opportunity to be one of the better paid defensive tackles in the league.
Yeah, he's better paid, Big C. He's also paid well enough to teach a worm how to jump on top of the hook. You know, down in Las Vegas, that's where people need a guarantee, Big C, when they pull that slot machine. But Miller guaranteed $42.5 million, Big C. Your thoughts?
Well, this is what Derek Carr needs, Charlton. He needs a left-out offensive tackle that's comfortable, and now he can go sit at the slot machines all day like an old lady and be comfortable.
And they'll sit there for 5 hours, Big C. And sometimes people say, man, that lady's crazy, sitting for 5 hours, and then the bells and whistles go off and she wins the money. It's all fair, Level War. Ragnar in Detroit, Big C, $42 million guaranteed, Big C. Your thoughts?
Charlton, now he's the highest paid offensive center in the NFL history, Charlton. That guaranteed money in Detroit, now he's got a new set of warm hands to rub on his butt, and Jared Goff.
Hey, you know, that can get some quarterbacks in trouble, having people rubbing on your buttocks, Big C. It's all fair in Level War. You know, lock it up in Seattle. Thinking about guaranteed, you're guaranteed to get a fish at the fish market because they're already caught and they throw them in your hands. But he's also guaranteed $37 million in Seattle, Big C. Your thoughts?
Well, when you talk about an excellent fisherman, Charlton, Tyler Lockett has done all of that in Seattle. He's caught everything that Russell Wilson has thrown in his direction, and even picked off a couple of fish down in the fish market.
A couple of fish in the fish market, Big C. Also, when you think about Simmons in Denver, Big C, he's guaranteed in the Mile High City $35 million, Big C. Your thoughts?
Now, Torrey Simmons, all he has to do, Charlton, is live up to the cash and pick off a few more passes. But he's become one of the more excellent safeties in the NFL now, Charlton. He can take it to the bank with a few more picks.
Even a few more picks, Big C, just like picking up that worm and putting it on the hook or training that worm to jump on the hook for you. That's called sacrifice, Big C. They say a dog's a man's best friend. A dog don't help you catch fish. How about a worm? It's a man's new best friend. It's all fair. Number word, Big C. Also, when you think about Barrett, Big C, for Tampa Bay, they got a lot of water down in Tampa Bay. He's guaranteed $34.2 million, Big C. Your thoughts?
You know, Shaq started his career out with the Denver Broncos, Charlton, became a free agent, ended up down in Tampa. Now he's hosted the Holy Grail in the Super Bowl trophy with the Buccaneers. He's one of the most fierce outside linebackers, Charlton, as far as pass rush in the NFL, and he's finally gotten compensated for all of his years of hard work.
He's gotten compensated for all the years of hard work, Big C. He works as hard as a worm jumping on the hook, but the worms don't get compensated. It's all fair, Level War. You think about Floyd, Big C, out of the L.A. Rams. He's guaranteed $32.5 million, Big C. Your thoughts?
Well, the Rams are going to find out if that fool goes what they gave Leonard Floyd this year, Charlton. He had the best year of his career playing across from Aaron Donald, Charlton, just as he had the previous team that is with the Bears when he was playing across from Khalil Mack. Can he do it in back-to-back seasons? We're looking to see if he can get double-digit sacks this year.
That's a guarantee, Big C. Also, when you think about Smith out of Tampa Bay, he's guaranteed $30 million, Big C. Your thoughts?
Well, you know, Tampa, all the players on the Buccaneers reap the benefits of winning the Super Bowl, Charlton. They've gotten the gang back together this year. Smith is an integral part of that offensive line, Charlton, that left offensive tackle that protects Tom Brady's backside.
Yeah, to protect his backside. And you would think when you get 7 Super Bowl championships, Big C, out of 10 games, you would have more money to guarantee. But he's guaranteed $25 million. What a bargain, Big C.
Well, you know, as you get all the quarterbacks in the NFL touting wanting to be the highest paid player in the league, Charlton, and they need more money, Tom Brady has set the table of excellence over the years. You know, winning, taking less money and winning. When you can have 2 other teammates get guaranteed money, Charlton, that's the top in their position, this is why Tom Brady is the best of all time.
Yeah, I have a feeling that maybe Tom's getting paid partially in paper bags, too. No one's going to take just the lowest amount on that he can get out of quarterbacks in that many championships. It's all fair and level war, Big C. NFL quarterback tiers. When you think about which teams have the best outlook after the draft, and again, everybody has their own opinion with the 2021 NFL draft in the books, Big C. Most major free agents, you think about the moves that complete as well, clarity's come to the quarterback position, at least for most teams. There are some squads that appear to have position battles on the horizons, but intrigue and even conflict does linger on for a few teams. And I want to get your thoughts on this. You know, we have rookie mini-camps, voluntary offseason workouts, and mandatory mini-camps on tap in May and June, and then training camps later for late July. We have an idea of where each team stands in regards to the starting quarterbacks. I want to ask you about a breakdown of the starting quarterback situations across the NFL. And, of course, you think about the Kansas City Chiefs, touchdown Patrick Mahomes. He's great, Big C. He's actually a wizard, but not even can he do it alone. We saw what happened in the Super Bowl without a good offensive line, Big C. Your thoughts?
Well, you know, this is the one franchise that you look at in the NFL and know that there's no quandary at quarterback, that this position is solidified. As long as you have a supporting cast around Mr. Mahomes, he becomes Mr. Magic.
Yeah, he's magic in the bottle, Big C. The great Tampa Bay Buccaneers, age is nothing but a number, Big C. The great Tom Brady turns 44 years old this August, but he plays like a young man. You never knew by looking at him, Big C. Your thoughts?
Well, this is the first time in Tom Brady's career, Charlton, that the entire offense is being brought back intact for a second year. You think about how great he's been for 2 decades in the NFL.
Yeah.
And this is the first time coming off a championship that team is intact. Who knows how far the Tampa Bay Buccaneers can go now?
They can go as far, Big C, as far as the eye can see. The Green Bay Packers, there's a lot of shenanigans going on in Green Bay. I think it's much ado about nothing. But if the Green Bay Packers and touchdown Aaron Rodgers, they manage to smooth things over, and I think they will, because as you said, I haven't heard Aaron say anything. It's all been the people trying to get their name out and get the story first. But if that happens to Green Bay, Big C, they have a lot of good things to work on, Big C. Your thoughts?
You know, if you look at the impact of that Green Bay Packers offense last season, Charlton, and saw how dynamic it was, they brought back all the key elements of that offense. Aaron is still under contract.
Yeah.
And until I see Aaron Rodgers holding a press conference saying, I'm no longer a Green Bay Packers, I think that offense will be right back where they finished last year in the NFC Championship game, Charlton.
Yeah, and maybe this time he'll run it from third and go from the 8-yard line. It's all fair and level war. You just think about another great player. There was also a lot like Aaron Rodgers. There was some talk about, am I happy, am I not happy? The great Russell Houdini Wilson up in Seattle, Big C, gave the Seattle fans a scare this offseason. Not really a scare. They just let what happens sometimes in private come out in the light, but they smoothed it out, Big C. Your thoughts?
Well, I mean, once again, everybody was talking in Seattle about Russell Wilson wanting to depart the city, just like they've been talking about Green Bay and Aaron Rodgers wanting to depart the city, Charlton. But it's hard to turn your back on $37 million and all the fish that you can eat.
Yeah, it's all the fish that you can eat, even when you learn how to train that worm to climb on top of that hook for a sacrifice is all fair level war. The great Seattle Seahawks, Russell Houdini Wilson. I want to go across to the East Coast, Big C. The Baltimore Ravens. You have Superman Lamar Jackson, was already one of the most dangerous quarterbacks in the league. It's a lot looking good for him this year, Big C. Your thoughts?
Well, I'm waiting on Lamar Jackson to have that breakout passing year, Charlton, to become that more complete quarterback. We know how dynamic he is with his legs, but I want him to be threatening the secondary every time he drops back in the pocket with his arm.
Yeah, he can do it, Big C. It's all about having somebody who can go downfield and catch the ball, Superman Jackson. Also, a little bit further up north, when you have the Bills Mafia, whenever you hear the word Mafia, that's probably a group you want to hide from, Big C, unless you want to open up a business. Some places in New York, you got to include the Mafia. It's called that silent plan that they make you sign a contract. It's all fair level war. But the Buffalo Bills, that Bill Mafia is a great crowd. Josh Allen, touchdown. Josh Allen received MVP consideration last season, and he has a really good outlook this year, Big C. Your thoughts?
Well, when I look at the development of Josh Allen up there in Buffalo, Charlton, he's eclipsed all the team's single season passing and total offensive numbers, yardage-wise. But, the Bills need to take that next step.
Yeah.
And he's going to need a little help from this defense. But I see Josh Allen being the complete quarterback once again this upcoming season and dominating the AFC East.
I'm telling you, that good old boy out of Fireball, California, a small town of about 10,000, is doing his thing for the Buffalo Bills Mafia, Big C. I want to take you down south. How about them Cowboys down in Texas, Big C? Touchdown, Dak Prescott no longer has to wonder about his future, and can he actually afford a house to put that mattress in, Big C? Your thoughts?
Well, I guess the analogy would be is Dak is not whack, but Dak is back. When we look at Dak Prescott last year, Charlton, he was on route to eclipse 6,000 yards of passing offense. I think that Dak is going to come back and throw for over 5,000 yards in offense this year, Charlton, and put himself in that MVP hunt.
Yeah, he's such a dynamic quarterback, and he's going to win a lot of scrutiny, but he got Jerry Jones to put that worm on the hook, Big C, and now he can eat all the fish he wants. Cowboys like fish and beans, Big C. It's all fair in Leavenworth War. If you ever saw the movie Blazing Saddles, Cowboys do like fish and beans, Big C. Also out west in La La Land, where everybody loves caviar and Hollywood dreams, Big C, the Los Angeles Rams. They bring in a boy from Texas. He grew up in Texas, went to Georgia, then ended up in Detroit. Now he's in L.A., Big C, Showtime country. The great Matthew Stafford addition should put the Rams back in at least Super Bowl contention, but they've been there the last 3 years anyway, Big C. Your thoughts?
Well, Charlton, when you say Super Bowl contention and you're playing in the AFC West, I think this is a make-or-break year career for Matthew Stafford. He's had a lot of excuses in Detroit.
Yeah.
He no longer has excuses in Los Angeles. People will legitimately see if he's an all-pro caliber quarterback.
Yeah, that NFC's loaded. If you go down to Arizona, Big C, they're loaded. Seattle's loaded. San Francisco's loaded. And then the Rams, the West is up for grabs. There's a lot of good receivers and a lot of good quarterbacks at all fair and level. Where I want to take you down south where the birds fly low, Big C. They call them the Dirty Birds, the Atlanta Falcons. There's a question about the great Matt Ryan's future. They still believe in the 13-year veteran. But do you believe, Big C, your thoughts?
Well, that's the biggest question mark, and I was a little perplexed with the Falcons on draft day, Charlton. I thought they would take a quarterback to at least start to build for your future. They don't have any plans for their future. They're in all right now, Charlton, and they don't have enough depth on their roster to challenge in that division that they're in, the New Orleans Saints and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. I think that the Atlanta Falcons basically blew the draft, and they're going to fall flat on their face with Matt Ryan.
Right here, right now. Sometimes they hold on to that Falcon a little bit too long, Big C. I hear the meat is better when you eat it fresh, not when it's 13 years old on the side of the road. It's off fair level war. The Tennessee Titans, Big C. Moonshine is second fiddle in Tennessee to football, Big C. The great touchdown, Ryan Tannehill. All he does, Big C, is just get the job done. What are your thoughts on his prospects, Big C? Your thoughts?
Well, when you look at what Ryan Tannehill has done, Charlton, since taking over as starting quarterback in Tennessee, he's had 2 deep runs into the playoffs. I think it's now, once again, time, Charlton, for him to get to that AFC Championship game.
Yeah.
Derrick Henry, if he can get off to an early start in the season, We know how well he plays late in the season. But Ryan Tannehill is going to have to take this team on his back early in the year and get them early up on that division.
You know, Henry's like a runaway freight train, Bixie. He's a runaway freight train. He needs a receiver to be a runaway passer. It's all fair and level war. I want to take you up north to Steel Country. The Pittsburgh Steelers, the terrible towels. The sun has definitely begun to set on the great touchdown Big Ben Roethlisberger's career. I know they had to bring him back because they were kind of stuck, Big C. But do you think that he's going to be the solution for this year, or do they have to kind of look past him for next year, Big C? Your thoughts?
Well, I think Ben all winter long, Charlton, has been playing Elton John. Don't let the sun go down on me, Charlton, because it has. And Ben has a shadow casted over his locker right now. I think, you know, the class that he came in with Rivers and Manning, Charlton, he should have departed with them also. I think he's going to hold the Steelers back this year also.
Yeah, they got to turn around and hand it off to Franco Harris, or would that be Najee Harris? It's all fair and level war, Big C. The San Francisco 49ers is all beautiful out here on the Pacific Ocean with the San Francisco 49ers. The great John Lynch, he wasn't bluffing, Big C, when he said last month that Jimmy Garoppolo remained a part of their plans. That's like saying that your shoes in the closet remain a part of your attire, but you can always replace them, Big C. Your thoughts?
Well, you know, not so fast about getting rid of Jimmy Garoppolo. When he's healthy, Charlton, he's one of the top 5 quarterbacks in the NFL. Just look at his win-loss record. I believe it's 25-8.
Yeah.
I know they drafted the young kid, Lance in the first round.
Yeah.
But I think Jimmy Garoppolo feels the pressure. He's going to do all that he can to stay healthy and not take chances, Charlton. And if he does that, he gives the San Francisco 49ers a fighter's chance to win that Western Division.
You know, all you need is a fighter's chance when you have a great defense coming back as all fair and level war. I want to take you to the land of the Great Lakes, Big C, the Minnesota Vikings, the Purple People Eaters, back in the days of the great Alan Pace. They have Kirk Cousins, had some ups and downs last season, but going forward, do you like that? Do you like that, Big C? Your thoughts?
Well, Charlton, I mean, that's a conversation that you and your cousins got to have. You got to sit down over dinner or lunch, whatever you guys sit down and eat over. But I think Kirk Cousins is risen as high as he can in his NFL career, Charlton, and it's only a downhill slide from here.
It's all fair and love and war, Big C. The New England Patriots, you can say the prodigal football team of the NFL over the last 2 decades under the great Bill Belichick, Big C. This offseason could not have played out more perfectly for the Bill Belichick and his crew, Big C. And now the Patriots coach, they have options, Big C. You have so many options, it's like going to a smorgasbord, Big C. Your thoughts?
Well, you know, I look at Bill Belichick, you know, ringing in the John Madden era in New England, Charlton. There was a few decades ago when he had Kenny Stabler as a starter, and Kenny Stabler would struggle periodically.
Yeah.
And he would bring in his old quarterback that wasn't mobile named George Blanton.
Yeah.
And he would pull out games. I believe he won 4 or 5 games, you know, that he entered the game in, you know, taking relief for Kenny Stabler.
Yeah.
I see that same mold happening in New England with the mobile, young, older, you know, Cam Newton. When he struggles, you can bring in this Mac Jones who doesn't have any pressure on him.
It's all fair and level war. I think Cam Newton's going to throw for 4,000 yards and rush for 500 this year. It's all fair and level war. The Detroit Lions, Big C, Motown. They bring in Jared Goff out of the North Bay Marin Catholic High School by way of Cal Berkeley. And then he went down to the Rams, took the Rams to the Super Bowl, and they loved him so much they gave him $134 million and sent him to Detroit, Big C, where they have a broken water system. But the potential to play high at high levels could help Detroit, Big C. Your thoughts?
You know, I see Jared Goff with a chip on his shoulder, John. Matter of fact, I see him with one of those California redwoods sitting on his shoulder, and he's going to have a point to prove and a bone to pick and whatever else euphemism you can throw out there for a quarterback, John. I think he's going to have a better rebounding year than what he had last year in Los Angeles, and he's going to get Detroit into the playoffs in that Central Division.
To get Detroit into the playoffs, that's like Christmas in Detroit. If you just get to the playoffs, it's all fair and level war. Out in Las Vegas, Nevada, the Raiders, Big C, touchdown Derek Carr. He's a good quarterback, but he seems to be maybe kind of handcuffed by the coaching of the great John Gruden. Can he reach another level, Big C? Your thoughts?
You know, I think he's plateaued in his career, Charlton. A couple of years ago when he was under Jack Del Rio, he had his best career year in Oakland, Charlton. Now that they're in Las Vegas, I think the lights are too bright for him out there in the desert, and he's going to be replaced halfway through the season.
Out of Bakersfield Christian High School by way of Fresno State, the great Derek Carr and John Gruden, can they exist together, Big C? It's all fair in love and war. Take you to the Windy City, Big C. Not windy because it's windy outside, but windy because of the politics. You have the Chicago Bears. They're feeling the heat after botching the great touchdown Mitch Trubisky selection in 2017. Chicago GM Ryan Pace, Big C, and Matt Nagy, they have to win, Big, and they got to win now, Big C. Your thoughts?
They definitely have to win, Charlton. They took a quarterback in the first round, Justin Fields. I think they're going to try to start the kid that they got from Dallas in the offseason, Charlton, but it's going to be a challenge in training camp. You have three quarterbacks, and if you have three quarterbacks, you have no quarterbacks in Chicago.
Yeah.
So Nagy is really on the hot seat right now.
Yeah, he's on the hot seat, Big C. It's like going on a date and three people show up at your door at the same time. You got to choose one. Unless you're in California, you can choose all three, Big C. The great touchdown, Justin Herbert for the L.A. Chargers, threw 31 touchdown passes and just 10 interceptions as a rookie coming out of the great University of Oregon, Big C. And his ceiling seems really high, Big C. Your thoughts?
Well, he was Rookie of the Year last year, Charlton, in the NFL, and he does have a high ceiling. When you think about the receiving corps, they have to replace their tight end. Hunter Henry left in free agency and went to New England. But he has two outstanding wide receivers in Allen and Williams, Charlton, on the outside. And if he can get a little more protection from his offensive line and keep Austin Eckler healthy, they will finish second in the AFC West.
Yeah, they're going to ride that wave of the Pacific Ocean, Big C. Riding that wave is all fair and love and war, but don't ride that wave if it's lightning outside. It's all fair and love and war. Big C, the Cleveland Browns, after playing the role of a game manager, also their city host of the NFL Draft for 2021. Most of his first season under Kevin Stefanski, the great touchdown Baker Mayfield. He finished the 2020 season on a strong note, Big C. In the playoffs, they got beat out by the Kansas City Chiefs, but helping to end the Browns' playoff drought after 18 years. Touchdown Baker Mayfield is all wide open for him this year, Big C. Your thoughts?
It's nothing but bright lights on Lake Erie right now. The stars are shining on Lake Erie and the Cleveland Browns, Charlton. This is a franchise with a tremendous running game, and you got a quarterback that has learned to turn around and hand the ball off to those great running backs that will open up those passing lanes as the game moves on.
Yeah, I heard John McKay, they say, USC, why do you run the ball so much, Sam Bam Cunningham? He said it's not too heavy, it's all fair and level work, Big C. Also, going down a little bit further south than where Sam Bam Cunningham was doing his thing back in the day for the Trojans, Arizona Cardinals, they have touchdown Kyler Murray. He took a step forward and made some big-time plays last year. And once a banged-up player, Big C, he struggled at times. He has to get his wings fixed, but he has a bright upside, Big C. Your thoughts?
Well, one of the moves they had to do for Kyler Murray in the offseason, Charlton, was shore up the offensive line, and that's what the Cardinals went out and did. Got him two more solid offensive linemen. Charlton drafted him two more receivers. I think that this is the breakout year for Kyler Murray. We've seen big things from him in his first 2 years in the league. Now you're going to see why he was the number one overall draft pick, Charlton. They will finish second in the AFC West.
Yeah, they have a great thing. Yeah, the NFC West is all fair and level word, Big C. When you think about the AFC, Big C, when you go to the Cincinnati Bengals, they have a touchdown Joe Burrow, appeared to be headed for a prolific rookie season before suffering that season-ending injury. You know how good rehab is for NFL players, Big C. He should be back this year, and his ceiling seems pretty high, Big C. Your thoughts?
Oh, the ceiling is high for Joe Burrow, Charlton. He can throw the ball at that level in the NFL. It's just a matter how much did the Cincinnati Bengals do to protect Joe Burrow. If you're building your franchise around him, then you got to build a solid wall up front. They got him a key wide receiver, Jamar Chase, out of LSU, his college buddy, Charlton.
Yeah.
Now we're going to see what they can do hooking up in the pros.
They got to hook up in the pros, Big C. It's all fair and love and war. And speaking of hooking up in the pros, we're going to take what's called the Big C pause, also known as the Big C timeout. When we come back, I'm going to ask you about a few more quarterbacks and what you think their upside is in the 2021 season. In the words of the great Arnold Schwarzenegger, we'll be back. All right, we are back from the Big C pause, also known as the Big C timeout. You can follow Big C Sports 24 hours a day, 7 days a week on the #1 podcast network in the universe, iHeartRadio podcast. You can follow Big C Sports on Apple Podcasts. You can follow Big C Sports on Google Podcasts. There's so many apps, and I really do appreciate the way things have grown with Big C Sports. I also want to say thank you to Xfinity Comcast TV and Comcast Spotlight for presenting Big C Sports to the universe. Just like God said in Genesis, let there be light. Open your cell phones and say play Big C Sports Podcast. You will see our apps open up all over the world, and I really do appreciate the way things are growing with Big C Sports. Big C, there's another great selection. In fact, it's kind of been put on hold. Going down to Jacksonville where they get Buck Wild in Jacksonville, Big C. Everybody knows about Lawrence, touchdown Trevor Lawrence, that he would go first overall to Jacksonville. You've been saying that for the past year, he would be first. For so long, they said that, Big C. The Jaguars, it felt anticlimactic, and now they bring in this talk about being reunited, and it feels so good with the great touchdown Tim Tebow. Why would you draft a player and make him your franchise #1 choice, and then you bring in this old relationship to try to have them rub shoulders and be friends? Big C, your thoughts?
Well, Tim Tebow, if he does go to Jacksonville, Charlton, he's not being brought in as a quarterback. I think what Urban Meyer is doing is trying to get Tim Tebow 3 games under his belt so that he can qualify for his NFL pitching, Charlton. But on the other side, you look at Trevor Lawrence. This kid has never lost a regular season game in his life, high school or college.
Yeah.
He's going to suffer something this year, Charlton, that he's never did. Lose regular season games.
Yeah, it's all fair in love and war. I still wonder the wisdom of you marry somebody and then you want to bring in your last date from 8 years ago and say, I want you guys to be friends. It's all fair in love and war. But I do like your take trying to get Tebow some money, Big C. Also down in Florida, I love Miami, one of the most beautiful cities in the universe. I think it's such a gorgeous place, Big C. The Miami Dolphins touchdown Brian Flores has made the decision to proceed with second-year pro Tua Tagovailoa he came out of Alabama, came out of St. Louis High School in Hawaii, and he'd been hurt a lot at Alabama, Big C, and now it's kind of like being on that lava, that shaky lava, that they're going to put all their hopes and prayers in him. But give me your thoughts, Big C.
Well, the hurt is not a problem with Tua, Charlton. It is his size that is the biggest problem with him. He's a very diminutive quarterback that's not very athletic, which does not bode well for him having a long NFL career. I think that the Dolphins struggle this year with him at quarterback.
How do you compare him to touchdown Kyler Murray down in Arizona? They're about the same size, Big C. Touchdown Houdini Wilson about the same size, but he's not as athletic as those two, Big C. Your thoughts?
You just said it right there in a nutshell, Charlton. He's not athletic enough to compete in the NFL.
Very well said, Big C. Touchdown is all over the place in Miami. We got to see if that defense can step up this year. They were so close to knocking on the playoff door last year. I want to take it to the town where they even boo Santa Claus, Big C. Home of the Philly cheesesteak. They should trade it in for the Big C burger. It is a tasty burger, and it comes with exotic meats, Big C. The Philadelphia Eagles quarterback Jalen Hurts, he showed enough to convince Philadelphia brass that he is the real deal. Came out of he actually went to Alabama and Oklahoma. All they did was get them to the playoffs both years, Big C. And then people, for some reason, they tried to question whether he's ready enough. He took 2 Power 5 teams to playoffs, and it's all fair and love and war. The NFL is a different breed of cat, but I think he's ready to go to that next level, Big C. Your thoughts?
Well, when you think about Jalen Hurts, you think about the class and quality of a grown man, and that's him, Charlton, because he's carried himself that way every place that he's been.
Yeah.
And he's gotten people to follow him on the football field, which is a key element of any quarterback, whether it's collegiate or professional, Charlton. To be a leader of men, they have to believe in you, and they believe in him in Philadelphia. Even management traded Carson Wentz, who was thought to be the next Messiah in Philadelphia.
Yeah, it's all fair, love, and war. I really like if they just put their heart, mind, body, and their belief into him. I think he'll do great and spread his wings in Philadelphia. I want to take it over to the coast. The Carolina Panthers, Big C, under touchdown Sam Darnold. Touchdown the other way sometimes. Touchdown Sam Darnold is all fair and love and war, but he did not get much of a chance to blossom in the Big Apple. That happens when you deal with those man-eaters. You got to be careful with Sam Darnold, but maybe he'll put more focus on the football field in Carolina. I still think they made a mistake by letting go of touchdown Teddy Bridgewater. Big C, your thoughts?
Well, Charlton, I'm not so sure whether you call the coach Matt Rule or Matt the Fool for making the trade for Sam Darnold, Charlton. I mean, he showed his ineptitude in New York, and I think he's going to bring that same ineptitude to Carolina. People say, well, it's a fresh start, a new organization. You still got the same old foolish quarterback that made the mistakes at USC and at the New York Jets.
Yeah, and New York, the USC coach was saying that he came out too soon. He wasn't ready because he wasn't able to read defenses. Of course, mainstream blamed it on the receivers, Big C, not the guy throwing the ball. It's all fair level work.
That's a typical guy from California. He can't read, Charlton. Spends too much time at the beach.
Hey, it's okay to spend too much time at the beach. It's all fair in Leavenworth, Big C. But you know what? The New York Jets and the New York Jets brass, they've cleared the way for the number 2 overall pick and touchdown Zach Wilson to be their day 1 starter. I'm telling you, playing defense is in the AFC East is going to be a lot more difficult than playing Troy State in the Coastal Carolinas of the world. Big C, your thoughts?
Well, put it to you in simplicity, Charlton. All that Zach Wilson has to do, Charlton, is win 3 games this year to prove that he's a much better quarterback than Sam Darnold ever was with the Jets.
Yeah, that's very well said, Big C. We'll see if they can get those 3 games done. The Washington football team, this defense is legit. Ryan Swaggy Fitzpatrick on offense is a veteran option. He's only 38 years old, Big C. A journeyman, remains capable of the signature Fitz Magic, Big C. But what I like about Fitz Magic, he can throw an interception and he forgets it in about 2 seconds, Big C. Your thoughts?
Well, I think Ron Rivera let his team down at the quarterback position. Yes, Charlton. Fitzpatrick does sound exciting for a game or 2, but you have to play a 17-game season now in the NFL. And we see how he struggles after the first 4 or 5 games of the season, Charlton.
Yeah.
The last 2 teams he's been with, he was benched after 4 games, 5 games of those seasons, Charlton. So is that same thing going to happen in Washington?
It probably will, Big C. Sometimes there's clues. The past can also lead clues. Indianapolis coach, Big C, former Philadelphia offensive coordinator Frank Reich, can he fix the great Carson Wentz by inserting him into a stronger squad with a more reliable line than the Eagles have to offer? I still think, in my opinion, Carson Wentz seemed a little bit punch drunk based on being hit so many times in Philadelphia. Once he hurt his leg in the Coliseum of Los Angeles, he just seemed to go downhill. I wish him nothing but the best, but give me your feeling on the great Carson Wentz in Indianapolis, Big C, your thoughts.
I see this team getting an extra victory with Carson Wentz at quarterback, Charlton. He's going to be behind one of the top 3 offensive lines in the NFL, a solid receiving core, Charlton. You're going to see remnants of Carson Wentz from his second year in the NFL, and the Indianapolis coach will go on and win their division.
We will see if those words come true, Big C. The great Denver Broncos, the Mile High City, the great John Elway Place, Big C. The Panthers, they shipped touchdown Teddy Bridgewater to Denver, who sought an upgrade over the young, ineffective Drew Lock. If they would just realize Teddy Bridgewater, he plays a lot in style the way touchdown John Elway played. Maybe not as much of an arm, but a lot quicker out of the box, Big C. That's just my opinion. I think they can have a really solid defense this year, and I'm looking forward to Denver at least challenging for that second spot in the AFC West. Big C, your thoughts?
Well, the key to this, Charlton, is how long before Drew Lock run out in Denver and Teddy Bridgewater is inserted as the starter.
Yeah, it should be in the first game. This, my opinion, is all fair in Leavenworth. New Orleans down south. Who that say they gonna beat them Saints, Big C? Touchdown Drew Brees. He's gone like the great Hall & Oates. He's gone, Big C. But now you have Sean Payton. He must choose between Jameis Winston, a 5,000-yard passer in Jameis Winston, and the last pass that Jameis Winston threw for the New Orleans Saints. It was a playoff game versus the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. It went for a touchdown. They said, "You're not following the script," and they put him on the bench, and he got a choice between Jameis touchdown Winston and Taysom Hill. Big C, your thoughts?
Well, the last pass that Jameis Winston threw for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, Charlton, was a pick six, and the last pass he threw for the New Orleans Saints was a pass six for a touchdown.
Yeah.
Which Jameis Winston will show up during the preseason, Charlton? I think that he's the better option for the New Orleans Saints with the quality receiving core and offensive line they have, and with Alvin Kamara in the backfield. You keep Taysom Hill as a situational quarterback.
Yeah, I know most guys. I just went to the optometrist not that long ago, and my eyes are not the same strength, Big C, so they prescribed a different, solution for one eye compared to the other eye, and now I see 20/20 vision. And I think about what people don't talk about enough. Touchdown Jameis Winston, after he threw for the 5,000 yards, Big C, he went and had some LASIK surgery done which gives him the chance to see, instead of throwing to two receivers, your eyes can focus on just one, because sometimes your eyes can deceive you. I think with the better eyesight, he's going to be a much better passer this year than what he was down in Tampa Bay, and I think that last touchdown pass that he threw for the Saints will prove that, Big C. Up in New York, where everybody's mean in New York, even nice people are mean. You can give New Yorkers the Big C burger. They know it's a tasty burger, and they know it comes with exotic meats, but sometimes they're just mean in New York, Big C. Daniel Jones has experienced 2 rocky NFL seasons and has yet to look anything like a player deserving of going 6th overall in 2019, especially replacing the great Eli Manning. Big C, your thoughts?
Well, I think the Giants went out and spent all their Christmas money during the offseason to help Daniel Jones out.
Yeah.
He has one of the top 5 receiving corps with the Giants this year going into the season.
Yeah.
He's run out of excuses right now. If the Giants falter, he's going to find the bench to get some splinters out of his butt.
Yeah, he'll find a bench, Big C. It's all fair 11 war. They got a good running back, Saquon Barkley, coming back. We'll see what happens in New York, but they're always going to be mean and hard to please no matter what you do, Big C. The Houston Texans, touchdown Deshaun Watson, unlikely to play for the Houston Texans ever again, regardless of what happens with the court hearing. At the same time, they still got a football team down there, Big C. Your thoughts?
Well, I think this season will start off with Tyrod Taylor at the quarterback, Jonathan. Tyrod Taylor started the last 2 seasons for 2 different NFL teams. Let's make it 3 in a row.
Yeah, it's all about making it 3 in a row the 3rd time around. So NFL quarterbacks, which teams have the best outlook? Just Big C's thoughts. It's all fair 11 war, and no matter what, we wish everybody nothing but the best, Big C. I wanna just bring up a couple of other things about the NFL. I know the schedule came out today, and everybody's looking forward to that. But when you think about NFL football, there are 11 quarterbacks that have started in Week 1, Big C, in 2020. Big C, they've either retired or they've changed teams in the less than a year, Big C, between kickoff to the kickoff in 2021 coming up. You have touchdown Drew Brees. You have touchdown Phillip Rivers. The great Carson Wentz, he's moved on. Jared Goff moved on. Matthew Stafford has moved on. Touchdown Teddy Bridgewater, he's moved on. Sam Darnold's moved on. Dwayne Haskins moved on. Ryan Swaggy Fitzpatrick moved on. Mitchell Trubisky and Tyrod Taylor, Big C, they were on a different team in 2020 for kickoff, and now they either retired or on a different team for kickoff in 2021. Big C, your thoughts?
You know, Charlton, that never has it been stated so poignantly other than Janet Jackson. What have you done for me lately? This is what the NFL has become, where a third of your starting quarterbacks from the previous season, Charlton, will potentially be starting for new teams this season.
Yeah.
The NFL is a cavalcade of just movement.
Yeah.
And, you know, we always look at non-quarterback positions when they move, Charlton, but now you really have to pay attention to the quarterback position and how frequently it's moving.
Yeah, how frequently it's moving, and I wish everybody nothing but the best. I absolutely love the NFL. Been watching it since I was a little boy, and I'm waiting forward to a great season coming up in 2021. But I want to get your thoughts on something. Of all the talk about touchdown Aaron Rodgers, where will he go? And he instantly makes a team Super Bowl ready, and he's going to give whatever team he plays for, whether it's Green Bay or somebody else, a chance to win the Super Bowl his first time there, Big C. I want to just bring up some quarterbacks who have multiple Super Bowls, Big C. Touchdown Aaron Rodgers only has 1. And you have 15 years playing in the league, only 1 Super Bowl appearance, Big C. It was a win over the Pittsburgh Steelers. But going back to none other than touchdown Tom Brady has been in 10 Super Bowls, Big C. And it's an amazing record, 7-3. You look at John Elway's been in 5 Super Bowls, only a 2-3 record. Terry Bradshaw in 4 Super Bowls, the great touchdown Joe Montana in 4 Super Bowls. They're both undefeated. Roger Staubach is 2. He's been in 4 Super Bowls, Big C, 2-2. The great, when you think about Peyton Manning, he is 2-2 in Super Bowls, Big C. He played for the Indianapolis Colts and also the Denver Broncos, were the 2 with both teams. Touchdown Jim Kelly, 0-4. Touchdown Troy Aikman, 3-0. Bob Greasy is 2-1 in Super Bowls. Big Ben Roethlisberger is 2-1. Kurt Warner, he's 1-1, Big C. Actually, when you think about it, he's actually 1-2 in Super Bowls, Big C. And then Fran Tarkenton's 0-3. We could go all the way down the list. I'm going to end with the great Jim Plunkett at 2-0, and I'll add on one more. The great Brett Favre is 1-1, as well as Patrick Mahomes 1-1, Russell Wilson 1-1. There's a lot of 1-1s. So what's the talk about of touchdown Aaron Rodgers, who's going to 1 in 15 seasons, is a guarantee that you're going to be in the Super Bowl this year, Big C? Your thoughts?
But of those quarterbacks that you mentioned, how many of those quarterbacks are active in the NFL?
Yeah.
That's the only thing that matters. You can go back through the history books of any sport and bring up people who have won a championship, but it's about who's active today and how productive are those individuals.
Yeah.
When you talk about active quarterbacks in the NFL today, Charlton, there are not 10 quarterbacks in the NFL that have been to the Super Bowl. And getting to a Super Bowl and winning it, yes, that's the holy grail of the NFL.
Yeah.
But everybody wants to get there. He's been there. Yes, once in 15 years, whether you have good luck or bad luck, there's a lot of guys who've never been there.
Yeah.
And then think about the ones that are in the league that have lost. But, Aaron Rodgers has gotten a lot of ink throughout his career. When you think about the Green Bay Packers, they have basically had 2 star quarterbacks in the last 30 years. So think about that with franchises in the NFL, Charlton. How many NFL franchises have had 2 star quarterbacks over the last 30 years?
Yeah.
They haven't had quarterback controversies, moving quarterbacks in and out. Every team drafts quarterbacks, regardless whether it's the first round or the 7th round.
Yeah.
Every team in the NFL drafts a quarterback at some point in the starter's career.
Yeah.
And so it's the media who has made all this hoopla about Aaron Rodgers and him being disgruntled, making $37 million in Green Bay, that he's not happy with that.
Yeah.
How the hell do you think Brett Favre felt when they drafted Aaron Rodgers in the first round?
Yeah.
You think that Brett Favre threw a party? He felt the same way.
Yeah.
So this is the history of the NFL. Everybody's going to be replaced.
Yeah.
Nobody has a lifetime contract in the NFL.
Yep, very well said. You can't make everybody happy, but the $37 million is part way to being happy. It's all fair and level. Where you want to be happy, Big C, there was a song called Happy, and you can be happy when you go down to Las Vegas. Maybe. I know you're happy when you get there. Don't know if you're as happy when you leave, but I think about what the Oakland Raiders have done. They announced the launch of the Wynn Field Club at Allegiant Stadium as part of an agreement with Wynn Resorts, Big C, which has become the official nightlife partner of the Las Vegas Raiders, Big C, Allegiant Stadium. The Wynn Field Club, Big C, will be situated at field level and span the entire length of the north end zone and will feature 2 DJ booths, a man by the Wynn, I guess it's going to be a nightlife roster of DJs, a 45,000-watt sound system so everybody can be deaf by the time they leave the stadium, and the premium bottle service, among other amenities. The End Zone nightclub is a major department from the Black Hole in Oakland, where it's one of the only places in the NFL universe where you can get stuff poured on you and you don't know if it's Gatorade or somebody's homemade Gatorade, if that makes sense to you, Big C.
Well, I guess that's called VIP service in Vegas, Charlton. That six-pack crowd is no longer going to be accepted that they had there in Oakland in the Black Hole, and they're moving on up, just like the Jeffersons.
Like the Jeffersons.
And so the Raiders are now, toiling to a higher clientele.
Yeah.
When you're having bottle service, Charlton, you got to have a credit card.
Yeah, it's all fair level work. Now, you got credit cards at the Black Hole. Sometimes it don't have your name on it, but they'll still take it. It's all fair and level work as long as the charge goes through. I'm looking forward to a lot of good things happening with NFL football this 2021 season, and I wish everybody nothing but the best. But Big C, sometimes there's a sport called NBA basketball, and NBA basketball is fantastic. It's fantastic for so many reasons. And when I saw what happened last night in Southern California, I think all the teams in California won. Golden State won. They won their game, beating the Phoenix Suns. Also, the Lakers, they won their game over the New York Knickerbockers, Big C. Sacramento Kings won a game, and I think they beat Houston. And then also the Clippers won a game against Toronto, Big C. But last night, and I'm talking to you specifically, you and Spike Lee, Big C. For some reason, Spike Lee was walking around at the Staples Center last night, and he thought he could cross over the line. And one of the security guards said, "Not so fast, my friend." And they made Spike get back on the other line and said, "This is not New York. You got to follow the rules." The Lakers last night, it was an amazing game, and they had a lot of starters out. New York had a couple of guys out too. But there's something about that type of basketball I saw last night at Staples Center. Big C, that's what NBA basketball playoffs are like, and you get that in a regular season game, Big C. Your thoughts?
Well, it's a game that the Lakers needed more than the Knicks needed, Charlton. The Lakers are trying to avoid the play-in round the playoffs. So they're desperately in the chase to win the rest of their 3 games of the season, because if not, they're going to be in the play-in, Charlton, and who can say what's going to happen in the play-in when it's a one-and-done situation?
Yeah, it's all fair and love and war, but I want to bring your attention to the new sheriff in town while King James is on vacation, Anthony Davis, and then you look at what happened also with the New York Knicks. It was just a great game. I really appreciate watching how, Derrick Rose was doing his thing, Big C, last night. But to see Anthony Davis rise at the biggest moment and play some defense and actually help the Lakers win that game, even though he had a hitch in his giddy-up, Big C, your thoughts?
Well, but what did he do overall, Charlton? Yes, you won the game, but, I mean, there's more than one player out on the floor, not just Anthony Davis. What did the rest of the supporting cast do?
Yeah, I think even they had so many injuries and guys missing, but I think Anthony Davis made a big defensive play down the stretch, and that really sealed the win for the Lakers. I really appreciate the way he tried to play like he was Russell Westbrook last night. Tonight, Big C, Washington is at Atlanta. You have San Antonio at Brooklyn. James Harden may play. I hear about that he may play. LeBron James didn't play last night. Boston at Cleveland, New Orleans at Dallas, and we have a couple of other games that are already on the schedule tonight too. But give me your thought on Westbrook back in the same city in Atlanta where he broke the Big O's record, Big C. Is he going to get that win tonight, or will they go 0-2 down in Atlanta, Big C? Your thoughts?
I think they're going to go 0-2 down in Atlanta, Charlton. I mean, the Hawks are a better team than the Wizards. They play more of a complete game, Charlton. But, Westbrook will get his. I mean, that's what he's done. He's been so phenomenal all year long and throughout his career. He's the most hustling player in the NBA.
Yeah.
But at times, Charlton, that hustle takes him out of good decisions, as he did in the last game when he pulled up for a 3 instead of going to the basket.
Yeah, it's all fair, love, and war. When I saw Golden State last night, the Phoenix Suns, they had everybody covering on Steph Curry. He didn't score 30 last night, but they actually got the win. And Portland's at Utah tonight, Big C, and then Houston's at the LA Lakers. There's some talk that King James may play. I know the Lakers are still dealing with that injury bug. It's all fair and love and war. Your thoughts, though, on Portland at Utah. Utah, they're kind of coming down that mountain. People thought they would stay high on the mountain. Portland has to win this game tonight, but they're up in the Wasatch Mountains of Utah, Big C. Dollar Dame, Rudy Gobert, Big C, who you liking that one?
Well, they've lost Donovan Mitchell for the season, the Jazz have, Charlton, so that's going to hurt them in many ways.
Yeah.
But this is what Portland does every year. They have a late-season surge, Charlton, to get themselves into the playoffs, but by the time they get into the playoffs, they burn themselves out.
Yeah, they can burn themselves out. It's nothing but the best in NBA basketball. A lot of players are playing as if their playoff lives depends on it, and I look forward to seeing how they all bounce the ball and drop it in the bucket tonight. Lakers, great game last night. Showed that you would have that championship pedigree. Is all fair and love and war, Big C. Tonight's Wednesday, May 12th, Major League Baseball universe. The schedule is rather full, Big C. You have Baltimore Orioles at the New York Mets, Cincinnati at Philadelphia, at Pittsburgh, Big C. Chicago Cubs at Cleveland, San Diego at the Colorado Rockies in a doubleheader. You have Philadelphia at Washington, Kansas City at Detroit, the Oakland A's at Boston, New York Yankees at Tampa Bay, and you have the Toronto Blue Jays at Atlanta, St. Louis is at Milwaukee, the Los Angeles Angels at Anaheim at Houston, Minnesota Twins at the Chicago White Sox, the Miami Marlins at the Arizona Diamondbacks, and the Seattle Mariners at the Los Angeles Dodgers, defending world champion Los Angeles Dodgers. And the Dodgers came late with the bats. They were swinging the bats, and they were all going over the fence, Big C. Your thoughts?
Well, the Dodgers are in much need of some wins, Charlton, consistently. They disappointed a lot of people the way that they've played this year. They've been struggling. Their pitching staff, they're down 3 of their starters right now. Baseball is all about consistency and being healthy, and the Dodgers have not proved that they can do either.
Yeah, they got to figure out a way to not wait until the last moment of the game, but it is exciting, and I love seeing baseball being played well all over this country, and especially in California. But you think about some things that are great in California, Big C, especially in Southern California. I know everybody loves talking about the LA Dodgers. Chavez Ravine is all fair and love and war, defending world champions. You have one of the greatest announcers that have ever called baseball, the great Ben Scully, Big C, Tommy Lasorda, all fair and love and war. As manager, now you have the great Dave Roberts and the defending World Series champions. But I want to take it down to a place called Anaheim. Most people think of Anaheim as the former home of the Los Angeles Rams before they went to St. Louis. They also think of it as Disneyland. But would you believe it has one of the best baseball players in the universe, Big C? His name is Shohei Ohtani. He pitched the gym, Big C. He plays outfield. Big C, he makes history in Los Angeles in their loss to the Astros. When you think about this, the Houston Astros, they defeated the Angels on Tuesday night by a score of 5-1. Now, for Houston, Lance McCullers Jr., he allowed 1 run in the 8th innings, and Kyle Tucker homered, and the Astros scored 4 runs off the Angels' bullpen in the decisive 8th inning. It was a greater ball game than the score. The story, though, Big C, was for it's a two-way effort from the Angels' great right-hander and designated hitter, the great outfielder, Shohei Ohtani. He was a starting pitcher in this one, Big C. He was also in the lineup in the 2-hole, Big C, on the mound. He was dominant in what many people may have felt was his best start in his Major League Baseball career, Big C. Of Ohtani's 88 pitches, Big C, 62 went for strikes, Big C. With the effort of his 2021 ERA now stands at a sparkling 2.10, particularly encouraging. The great Shohei Ohtani, Big C, he improved his control in the start. Now, for some relevant moving pitchers. In all, when you think about what he did, induced 16 swinging strikes on 5 different pitches. That's amazing. With his pitching alone, he made some history. He's the first pitcher in the modern era to strike out 40+ and allow fewer than a dozen hits over his first 5 starts of a season. Big C, your thoughts?
Shohei Ohtani has proven his worth. He's become the modern-day Babe Ruth, Charlton. This is a guy that I don't know what the Angels have planned for him. Because he's dominant on the mound, and yet he's proved that he can play in the outfield, Charlton. And for him to be on the last-place team in the AL West, Charlton, it's just abysmal. When you think about the talent they have, along with Mike Trout, Charlton, and a few other key players on that team, but that pitching staff, that bullpen, Charlton, is a detriment to the Angels.
Yeah, and when you think about Mike Trout being what many people consider the best player in baseball, he's not even the best player on the Angels. That's Shohei Ohtani, Big Z, and that's my opinion. The great Shohei Ohtani is the 3rd player in modern era since 1900, since 1900, Big Z, to strike out 10+ batters and play a non-pitcher position in the same game. Big C, he's the best player, at least for the Angels, might be the best player in all of the American League, Big C. When you think about this, in 7/6/1970, Sam McDowell had 15 strikeouts and played second baseman. At September 28, 1952, the great Harvey Haddix, Big C, had 11 strikeouts and played right field. That was just the 2nd time in his Major League Baseball career that the great Shohei Ohtani has played in the field. And Big C, he was bringing it every time he was at the plate. Big C, your thoughts?
Well, it's a shame, Charlton, that he pitched 7 dominant innings and he leaves the mound, and the relief pitchers, Charlton, give up the game.
Yeah.
And yet he moves into the outfield, Charlton, and he's a solid defenseman. I mean, this guy is capable of doing it all. You know, like I said, the Angels are in a quandary. Where do you get the most out of Shohei Ohtani? Do you get it out of him as an everyday player in the outfield, or do you get it out of him throwing every 4 or 5 days off of the mound?
Yeah. Well, basically, let me ask you a question then. Where would you like to see the great Shohei Ohtani? I mean, I'm not saying that LA is a big market, whether it's Anaheim, and of course Los Angeles is the number 2 media market in the country. But just like Mike Trout, I've never really been one to say that Mike Trout's the best player in Major League Baseball. I still think it's Mookie Betts down in Los Angeles. Now I think about the great Tatis Jr. I mean, there's so many good ones. It's hard to say there's one great one. But Shohei Ohtani definitely, in my opinion, is the best player that plays for the Angels, no matter how much money he doesn't make. Where do you see him getting that household name? Because he can't stay in L.A. and Anaheim his whole career. Big C, your thoughts?
Well, Charlton, I mean, he's a household name regardless of which position he plays. He shows how dominant he is as a pitcher. But he's also proved his worth as an everyday player. And that's the quandary for the team. Who do you fill in for him?
Yeah.
Do you go out and find another quality pitcher? Or do you put him in the outfield, Charlton, every day and get 100+ games of productivity out of him?
Yeah.
I mean, this bothers every manager when it comes down to it. We know he had Tommy John surgery 2 years ago. So is the outfield the best place for him to finish his career?
Yeah, it's amazing. I love seeing great athletes doing their thing, and that good old boy, the great Shohei Ohtani, is definitely doing his thing. I wanna throw in. I know everybody's happy about what's going on in sports and how hard people are trying, but I want to bring in some Black American history, Big C. I know a lot of people, they stopped doing it after Black History Month, but just like God said in Genesis 1:3, let there be light. I want to bring some light to Black American history. J.A. Rogers, 100 Amazing Facts About Black People. When you think about it, by Henry Louis Gates Jr., and the book really is titled J.A. Rogers, 100 Amazing Facts About the Negro, but I want to say Black Americans, Big C. 1934, Joel Augustus Rogers, a highly regarded journalist in the black press, Big C, published a remarkable little book on 51 pages titled 100 Amazing Facts About the Negro, Big C, with complete proof, a shortcut to the world history of the Black American man, Big C, and black people all over the world. I've been intrigued by this book. I've read it many times. By the author, since his first encounter is as a student, Big C, in an undergraduate course. I was reading about it. African American history. This guy has been so amazing in chronicling things, but what I really want people to think about is everything we deal with today. Of the works of Rogers, J.A. Rogers, especially fascinating in the range of the author's ambition and imagination, such as his pioneering analysis of sex and race in the United States in 3 volumes between 1941 and 1944. It's a fascinating biographical dictionary of the world's great men of color, published in 1946 and 1947. Big C, your thoughts?
Well, Charlton, I mean, anybody growing up in America, when you read about black history in the typical classroom, all we heard about was George Washington Carver developing the peanut butter, Charlton, and peanuts.
Yeah.
That's all we knew about black history. We did not know about the ingenuity and the intelligence of black people, Charlton, because it was never taught in white history books throughout America. But black Americans have been so staunch as far as the invention and the advancement of society in America and around the world throughout its history. But it's always been omitted from many history books, Charlton, because people did not want American society to know that blacks were equal, if not superior intelligence to whites.
All life began on the African continent. Dr. Leakey Gregor Mendel, everyone can Google that all around the world. Just Google where the origin of man came from. Because as God said in Genesis 1 verse 3, let there be light. Just knowledge is light, Big C. It's all fair and level war. I want to close out. I know you love football, and they got the schedule out today. An intriguing game, Big C, released that the Cowboys and touchdown Dak Prescott will be at the defending Super Bowl champion Tampa Bay Buccaneers as they kick off the season at Raymond James Stadium. It's going to be an 8:20 p.m. East Coast time kickoff Thursday night, September 9th on NBC Sports. They announced that today, Big C. That's a great way to kick off the season. You have the descending Super Bowl champions versus America's team, Big C. Your thoughts?
Well, Charlton, I think this game would be watched regardless of what time you played it. If you played this game on Thanksgiving, you think that everybody be watching? If you played this game on Christmas, do you think everybody be watching? If you played it on New Year's, do you think everybody be watching? Whatever game that you put for opening day of the NFL season on that Thursday night, Charlton, 30 million people are going to watch it. To say we're going to put America's team up there, Charlton, a team that had potentially a top 10 draft pick this past year versus a team that was a Super Bowl champion. What is the drawing point in that other than that it's just the NFL's opening game?
The NFL's opening game. Not since 1977, the Oakland Raiders had a Super Bowl winning team return all 22 starters. The Tampa Bay Buccaneers are doing that this year. It should be a great season of NFL football if everybody stays healthy. Big C, back in the day, there's a man by the name of Drew Boudini Brown. He was known as Muhammad Ali's right-hand man, and he would always tell Ali, float like a butterfly, sting like a bee, rumble, young man, rumble, with all you've got to use. How can you lose? Big C, what are you looking forward to in the sports universe?
Well, Charlton, we're down to the final 3 games of the NBA season, and everybody's trying to figure out who's going to be in that playoffs, that play-in series, Charlton. Will the defending NBA champs be relegated to that level? Once again, I want to thank the frontline healthcare workers, the nurses and doctors and first responders. They will be there to help to shore up all the bandages for the tears that whatever teams that don't make it.
It's all fair and Leavenworth. Just rise and shine no matter what you're going through. Rise and shine. You can rise and shine every Monday through Friday at 5 and 6 p.m. worldwide when you follow Big C Sports on the Big C Sports Network, on the #1 network in the United States of America, Big C Sports Podcast. And you can always tell you, just like my mom always says, there's never ever an excuse for racism or domestic violence. If you know any man, woman, or child going through that garbage, please pick up the phone and ask for help, because no man, woman, or child should ever have to go through that garbage on their own. And as we always tell you on every Big C Sports show, we thank you, we appreciate you, and we hope that you have a super fantastic day.